Sue Ann Brown's family farm and ranch is located in the wide open spaces of the Flint Hills in Chase County, Kansas. Her father was 13 years old in late March of 1931 when he was preparing to get a head start on planting corn that spring.
He had gone out to the corn crib to get another sack of corn, and he heard these engines roar, and he thought it was cars coming racing down the road.
A car race in the country was a big deal, so Sue Ann's father, Easter, went inside the house to tell the family to come out and watch the event.
But when they got out there, all was quiet, and they thought that he was just pulling their leg. But shortly after that, the phone rang, and it was his uncle saying that an airplane had crashed over west, and so they all got in their pickup and drove over there.
The family made their way to the crest of a small hill. Neighbors on horseback had beaten them to the crash site. TWA Flight 599, with 8 aboard, was en route from Kansas City to Wichita when it encountered icing conditions and structural fatigue. There were no survivors. The Heathman family stayed until ambulances arrived. By then, a crowd had gathered, and many took souvenirs.
Dad's brother brought home a propeller and hung it on the wall behind the couch until the sheriff came and said they needed that for the investigation.
But even hours after the crash, no one at the site realized one of the nationally recognized men who had died in the crash. There was perhaps a good reason they did not.
They didn't have a TV. This was the Depression. They turned the radio on to get the farm reports and turned it back off.
Notre Dame football coach Knute Rockne was a football legend in his own time. His Fighting Irish had won 4 national titles, and he had compiled a record of 105 wins to only 12 losses. He was on his way to Los Angeles for filming of a movie about the team. In 1935, a memorial marker was erected to all who perished in the crash. Over time, Sue Ann's father became the guide who often led people to that site. He was one of the few eyewitnesses still living.
The Cornelius family in Texas owns the land. After they bought it and built a house up there, they kept the gate locked, but gave Dad the combination to the lock, and so he was the go-to person to take people up there. That was the highlight of his day if somebody pulled in and wanted to go up to the crash site.
Easter Heathman's connection to Notre Dame football was quite by accident, but his dedication to preserving the memorial and taking people to view it was noticed by the university. In fact, a plaque in his honor greets those who enter the stadium in South Bend. Sue Ann's father passed in 2008, but people continue to make their way here, now some 8+ decades later. They visit the crash site memorial and come to town to see the museum. Sue Ann continues the tradition of having those visitors sign her father's registry that he began so long ago.
And Dad has kept a book that he's had all his visitors sign, and every state and 2 countries have been there.
It's been nearly 85 years since the crash that claimed the life of Rockne and 7 others. Yet fans still come here to pay their respects at the memorial, to see the museum, and a car even named for the famous coach. It's football history tied to the ranches of these Flint Hills. Traveling the countryside in Cottonwood Falls, Kansas, I'm Andrew McCrae.